Stories of the 20th century, the legendary tale of Hachiko. But we aren't just looking at the history here. We're actually going to unpack how this famous story of a dog is used by our source material to uncover a truly fascinating spiritual reflection on the real nature of loyalty. To start us off, we really need to set the scene. Picture this. It's 1923, right in the bustling heart of 1920s Tokyo. Imagine the sheer chaos of Shibuya Station. You've got hissing steam engines, massive crowds just flooding out of the train cars after a long workday. And sitting right there, patiently in the middle of all that commotion, is a very special golden brown Akita named Hachiko. Section 1. An unbreakable bond. It all starts with an immediate, undeniable connection between this young pup and Isaburo Ueno, who was a lonely agriculture professor from the University of Tokyo. Their routine was honestly heartwarming. Every single morning, Hachiko walked his master to the station, watching him board the train for work. But the real magic? That happened in the afternoon. Hachiko would trot back to the station, his eyes scanning that dense crowd for a single familiar face. And the absolute second Professor Ueno stepped into view, that tail would start wagging furiously. But then, in 1925, that perfect, comforting routine was shattered. While giving a lecture at the university, Professor Ueno suffered a sudden, fatal brain hemorrhage. He passed away instantly. Tragically, this meant he was never going to board that evening train home, leaving his loyal companion just waiting. Section 2. 10 years of waiting. Now, what really elevates this story to legend is exactly how Hachiko responded to this sudden tragedy. That first night, he waited right there until nightfall. As the crowds thinned out and it got dark, he finally went back to an empty home. Confused, sure, but incredibly patient, only to turn around and trot right back to the station the very next morning. Even when his extended family took him in and tried to give him a new home, it just didn't matter. Hachiko's internal clock was completely locked on to Shibuya Station. He kept breaking out and running back. Days bled into months. Months turned into years. From 1925 all the way to 1935, he was just this permanent, unwavering fixture on the platform. 10 years. Just pause and think about the sheer magnitude of that dedication for a second. For 10 long years, through the scorching, humid heat of Japanese summers and freezing, bitter winter snowstorms, he literally never once gave up hope that his master would walk off that train. Now, you might be wondering about the commuters. At first, they mostly ignored him, or maybe even found him to be a bit in the way. But as the years rolled on, they couldn't help but be deeply moved by this incredible display of love. They actually transformed from strangers into his caretakers. They brought him food, sat with him in solidarity, and were so touched by a devotion that literally defied death that they actually put up a bronze statue of him at the station in 1934. I mean, that is an incredibly rare honor for a living creature. Finally, in March of 1935, the frail and elderly dog took his very last breath. He passed away at the exact same spot he had guarded for a decade, closing his eyes to, in a way, finally reunite with his beloved master. Section 3, a lesson in devotion. And this is exactly where our source material shifts focus. The author takes this universally touching slice of history and uses it to pose a profound spiritual and moral question. So it's no longer just a story about a pet, it becomes a mirror held right up to human devotion. The source draws a really powerful, striking comparison here. It asks us to consider this. If an animal can show such unshakable, unconditional loyalty to a human being who simply fed and cared for him, well, how should believers reflect on their own devotion to their Creator? A Creator who, as they believe, grants them life itself and just countless blessings. By framing the Islamic testimony of faith as an ultimate oath of devotion, the author brilliantly connects the dots. They link Hachiko's immense physical patience to the kind of spiritual patience and resilience that's required to maintain faith over the course of an entire lifetime. So, we wrap up with this deeply provocative challenge straight from the source. It really forces us to look inward and ask, how much love, consistency, and loyalty do we truly hold for Allah in our hearts when the endless distractions of the world pull us away? It's a pretty compelling thought to leave you with, right? Long after the initial spark fades,